Hello, friends. How's it going? Hope you're doing all right. It's been a couple months. I've had some in real life things that have prevented me from playing, but everything's going quite well. This is part two of the 10-year anniversary series that I hope to finish sooner than later. I have a couple more worlds to visit after this one. Today we'll be doing Aru. And if you remember, our first one was Island Fortress. Then we showed photos of Eden, which was lost. Today will be Aru. Now, in doing the research for this, I discovered that what I thought was called Eden was actually Aru 1.0, and what I'll be showing you today is Aru 2.0. But it began in July of 2014. So 10 years ago, in July of this year. And I played on it for almost 2 years. So there is a bit of overlap with another world called Temperu, but I'm going to make that a separate video. So let's jump on over to Aru and get started on the tour. And here we are, high above my first long-term world, Aru, which I was told is a word that in Egyptian means heaven. However, I never actually bothered to Google that. Maybe I should now. Okay, so Aru, or the Field of Reeds, pronounced Sekhet Aru, is the name for heavenly paradise in Egyptian mythology, according to Wikipedia, presuming that this has not been a page that is vandalized and will remain the heavenly paradise in Egyptian mythology, presuming we do not vandalize the page now. That's up to you. I'm banned from editing Wikipedia for having edited Fred Durst's page too many times with the false claim that he travels with no less than 37 red fitted baseball caps at all times. I'm not making that up. I really am banned from editing Wikipedia for that reason. Anyway, this is Aru. It started out as a Legacy Console Edition map. At the time, we just called it an Xbox 360 map. It wasn't called Legacy Console Edition yet. You can see the demarcation of the original map, and then the world was later expanded by the hard lines in the water. That's where it's most evident. There was no biome blending or map blending back then when I first expanded this world. The world was meant to be a faction server where each faction had an island. Then there was the main continent, which was considered the common area, if you would, where anyone could do whatever they wanted. And then two smaller islands where anyone could do whatever they wanted. But to build on the faction islands, you had to join the faction and then work with the leader of that community. The faction that controlled the island to the left there with all the ice and snow was led by a guy by the name of Engage. I don't remember the name of that faction, and I couldn't find anything anywhere, and I spent quite some time looking for it, but that was one faction. Then the island in the middle was called Lumina, and that was led by a guy by the name of Dreamer. Then the island next to that, the one that looks like the desert island, that was called Pathos, and that was led by me. We were supposed to be in competition with one another, and there were supposed to be various events regarding to that. There was only ever one, and it occurred while I was on a flight from Berlin back to the US, so I didn't get to participate in it. And then there wasn't ever another one, but Engage and Dreamer and myself were all quite close friends, and we still talk occasionally to this day, 10 years later, this world having launched in July of 2014, and us having met a few weeks or months before on the prior world. But we ended up cooperating with one another to the point that they had embassies for their factions on my island. Not functional, of course. It was just a fun thing to build. But before we get into the tour, I want to sort of go over where we were at the time with the development of the game. We're on 1.21 right now. It just released in the last week or so, the Tricky Trials update. At the time this world came out, there was not parity between the different editions. So instead of whatever version was back then for Java, we had title updates instead of versions. And I started on title update 14, and that's where we were when this world started too. That was in March 26th of 2014 is when that update came out. That is the update that brought us trading, emerald ore, blocks of emerald, the ender chest, the anvil, cobblestone and mossy cobblestone walls, all the quartz variants, the potato and carrot were up in that edition. That was the first time we'd had that. That was the edition that brought us the desert temple, the desert village, and the jungle temple. You could dye leather armor for the first time. Boats broke lily pads, where prior to that, if you ran into anything with a boat, including a lily pad, the boat would break. Not that you'd fall out of it, but it would break into a block of wood and a couple of sticks. This is the update that brought us rain dripping through leaves. This is the update that allowed us to pick up ice and glass with silk touch. Cauldrons could fill up with rain for the first time. And on and on. I have it up on the screen so you can read on your own and pause if you'd like to get into it, or just go to the Minecraft wiki and look for yourself. So that's how we started. That was in March of 2014. In December of 2014, we had title update 19. I skipped 15, 16, 17, and 18 because they were just minor bug fixes, not big updates like the one we just talked about. But 19 is the one that brought us hardened clay, stained clay, blocks of coal, a number of redstone elements, including hoppers. We didn't even have hoppers on this world when it first started. It's also brought us firework rockets and the Nether Star and beacons, horses. We didn't have horses before this world. This world is also what brought us the witch and the witch hut. And before this world, nether fortresses other than blaze spawners were empty. There was no loot in them. This brought us loot to nether fortresses. Basic things we take for granted now that at the time were really big game changers. So that's where we were when the game development was, when we started, and then as it was winding down as a massive multiplayer server in December, though me and a few people kept playing on it for a while after that. So with all that said, now I suppose we can begin the tour. When you first joined the world, you would spawn right here in the middle of the Onyx Hub logo. There are variations of the Onyx Hub logo, and we tended to build them everywhere as a fun little Easter egg. Some variations have another little block right here. And this one and that one are the two most common ones. But you'd spawn in here, and then you would decide where you wanted to go. Maybe you'd explore, maybe you'd go join a faction, whatever you wanted to do. We had built around the spawning structure a small village. This was intended to give new players food right away with this farm. We put some basic armor, gear, and weapons in each of these houses, and sparsely decorated them, with the idea that if someone new came on with the intent of stealing and griefing, they might be fooled into thinking that they had successfully done so at the starter opening village, when in fact this village was fake and intended to have them steal things we didn't care about. It was marginally successful because newcomers were heavily monitored, and if they stole from here, they were kicked right away. Someone built something out of snow. I don't know why, what, or who, but here we are. It's historic now, so we have to leave it. It's important to preserve our history. Yes. Sign that says nothing. Very good. Nether blocks. Yeah, who knows? Who knows? But I guess the best thing to do is just sort of fly around the main island and show you what's here. This building here was our communal sheep farm. You can already hear them. We wrote Onyx Hub in ice on the top. At the time, wool was the only colored block that we had in the game until December, when the hardened clay, the precursor to terracotta, came out. That was it. Colored wool was the only colored block. There was no concrete or anything. There wasn't even colored glass. Wool was it if you wanted color in your build. So you'd come in here and you could shear the sheep. We had a different pen for every color. I think when I converted the world to Java, they all disappeared, and I got more sheep in here, but never bothered to dye them. Here we have the giant tree that was built by a guy by the name of Craze Eminem, and this used to spell out in bushes or leaves, or bushes, as Corrales says, got wood, which, as you can see, he got wood. Over there we have the creeper windmill, which has a horizontal windmill rather than a vertical one, but you know, to each their own. In the sort of winter area, a few people set up small houses. Nothing to write home about. We're not going to visit them. I'm just sort of doing a flyby. Then the emerald tree. It was created by a guy who duped all of this, but that was allowed, so no big deal. Though it was looked down upon in the community to dupe anything. By dupe, I mean duplicate. Yeah, just your basic starter houses. That structure back there is not as interesting as it looks. It's an homage to a build from a prior world, but it's a heavily miniaturized version of it. If you see any strange looking fountains like that, that was a signature of a guy by the name of Danny Loop. But over here, just more starter houses. A Pokeball. Here is the Juke Bug and Insane Hitman Scary House. I ended up playing with them for a while on a couple servers. They were from Australia. Cool guys. I think this was meant to be a haunted house. I'm only going into it to just show you one of the houses, the starter houses. This was supposed to be a TV. I mean, like I told you, we had no blocks back then. As I recall, they put like redstone and stuff on the floor that was intended to be blood, that's what they meant by the scary house. Though I don't know if it made it in the switch to Java. Doesn't look like it did. That's okay. Maybe it's up here. Oh, yep. Up here. Yep. Here's where the murder was supposed to have happened. Oh, and here's their I guess the beginnings of their mob farm. It was very, very basic stuff back then. Yeah, I think they intended to build something like that right there, which is a very, very basic mob farm where the mobs spawn inside and then through some mechanism are either pushed or compelled to go to the middle and fall down the chute where you can kill them for XP and their drops. Um, yeah. There's an homage to Doctor Who, just built on the edge of the world. A lot of us were big Doctor Who fans. A lot of us still are. I certainly am. Um, so that's the icy area. Mostly just starter houses or somewhat more ambitious projects that were abandoned. Um, I really don't remember any of these being remarkable or really worth a visit. I don't remember this at all. Like a lot of things on this server, it's unfinished. It was an all ages server, so it was mostly high school kids with about maybe 30% adults. The adults are actually the more regular players. The high school kids would come and go. Um, the more permanent, complete, and complex structures were typically the regular older folks like myself. Um, I guess we'll head over to the jungle now. There was a former moderator who was playing but had kind of stepped down, but he kind of claimed the jungle as his area. And I remember he built sort of a temple in here that was pretty cool, I thought. And it's supposed to have like blood here, like sort of like, I guess like Aztec sacrifices or something like that. He would come and go, and he'd just pop on one day, do a lot, and it would look really cool, and then he'd be gone for like a month, and come back on, pop on one day, and could have been a lot cooler than it actually is if he stuck around more. And not that it isn't cool. I think it's one of the cooler bases on the server. Back then you could only see 4 chunks, so it seemed a lot bigger because you felt like you were in a really deep jungle, and it's got all these twists and turns, and it's hard to tell where you're at. It's hard to tell how to get out of the jungle. I want to say his name was H.M. Gaius, but I really don't know for sure. It's been 10 years. Oh, and here's a treehouse. I don't know if I even knew about this. I wonder if the signs didn't all make it in the conversion to Java. And there are a couple more tree houses scattered about in various states of completion. Like this one was up long enough to have beds and a enchantment and potion area. This was meant to be a shopping area. I think originally there were villagers in here. It was built for villager trading, which was new, but I guess the villagers all died. As, villagers do. I think people just must have put their junk in that chest. Ooh. Of course, this was converted from or to Java, so these are all going to be enchanted books without a specific enchantment, so that makes them useless, but kind of unique. You can't make those. They're the result of a conversion from Bedrock to Java. This is a subway entrance, and yes, the world actually has a subway system that connects each of the faction islands and the main island. This is where the main island subway terminal connects. And we'll get into the subway as well. Um, just the random persons, they made a treehouse on the ground is what I think they were going for, as I recall. Some people like to build those postmodern type houses, and this is one of those. Shadowbot 27. I do not remember them at all. But whoever you are, I hope you're doing well. I remember this guy came on for like the weekend. That seems to be a recurring theme here, and it was. And built whatever this is, and then never came back. Of course, this is an interesting feature. The floating island. The only way up there was initially water, like this waterfall here. You just swim up the waterfall. We always meant to light up under here, but we never got around to it. I have no idea what this was going to be. I think this was, yes, this is the entrance to an event, the one that, the only event we ever had. It was, like I said, it was supposed to be a faction server. It was supposed to be a competitive event in an underworld, an underground city called Understone, and that's the entrance right there. Understone was copied and pasted from another world into this world. I was on a flight from Berlin to the US when that happened, so I didn't get to participate, and we never had any other faction events. And since the three faction leaders were actually friends, we, cooperated and didn't compete. But the floating island ended up being Junebug and Insane Hitman's residence. So here's, it looks like an Onyx Hub logo. They lived up on here in this big house. They built a very similar house to it on another world that we went to while this world was down, called Temparu, and that's going to be on the next world tour. This was what I came to call the Star Castle. People were actually quite put off by it. We thought the floating island was so beautiful and cool and such a unique feature to this world, and this person had come on and just like destroyed it in the shape of the castle, which I called the Star Castle because to me it resembled a star, even though it's not really a star. And then not only did he do that, he built it out of cobblestone and netherrack, two of the ugliest blocks in the game, and then after a couple weeks abandoned the project and never came back. Here's a wizard tower is what it was called. This was built by, I want to say, Zaxxery, one of the people who built the world itself. If not Zaxxery, it was one of the Onyx Hub team members. I do remember that. But I always thought that was a pretty cool build. And then on the lower island, I thought it was cool how the floating island was sort of tiered and had like water features. It was so magical and cool and unique. But I didn't even try to live up here. I was more interested in developing my city. But I did visit often because I was friends with the people who lived here. And I was always excited to see what they were going to do with it. I wish more had been done up here. It's a lost opportunity that it wasn't. Another house, and to be honest, I don't remember this house. I have no idea who built it. I just don't remember the house at all. But cool floating island. Cool feature. Good job, Onyx Hub team. Then we have, this was supposed to be a rocky coast biome that they just sort of made up. They gave us a tiny mushroom biome. And these are just more individual people's houses all over here. I'm not going to really focus on those. But at this point, we will start looking at the faction islands. And maybe before we actually visit them, we'll take a brief look at Understone. Just to preserve its memory here. It was meant to be sort of a battle royale type event. And just a sort of abandoned underground dwarven type city, I guess. There's lots of rooms and branches and things. I have no idea what these lights were meant to do. But let's get out of here. Go look at the cities. I think we will start with Engage's faction, which I wish I could remember the name of, but I do not. Engage was a big fan of Halo. So outside of his city, he built what I believe is called the Didact. That's this feature here. I myself never played Halo, but if you have, I presume you'll know what that is. And if you haven't, then like me, you'll just be like, oh, well, it looks neat. I think this is meant to be some sort of space elevator, also from Halo. Made out of wool, because as I said, the only colored block we had at the time was wool. This is meant to be a fighting arena down here. This was going to be Engage's sort of headquarters, but he never finished it. I don't remember what the I stood for. I think it might have been Engage Enterprises, with the joke being that, you know, Enterprises actually starts with an E, or maybe it was Engage Industries. I don't know. I don't remember. There wasn't a lot done in the city itself. I remember helping build the water and lava fountain. This city is kind of interesting in that the bridge to it is over here. Each city has a bridge from the mainland, but then the actual entrance to the city is over there instead of by the bridge. The other two cities, you typically would enter at the bridge. But this one you entered this way. If I am remembering correctly. Mind you, back then we had no rockets or elytras. So there was a lot of walking unless you were a moderator, in which case you did have the ability to fly. Looks like the gate is broken. Good thing I'm in creative mode so I can fly. But yes, we had the lava water fountain. There used to be snowmen in these towers, and we had them go around so that they always kept the glass covered in snow, because wherever snow people walk, they leave a snow behind on the ground. This was their farm area, and we had the angel pig and devil sheep. I remember Engage built the pig and I built the sheep. And you can go inside them, which I don't know why you'd want to, but we did. The pig it's supposed to be a tail and well, I mean, yeah. Engage ended up with the largest population of the younger people, and the culture on the prior world carried a bit over into this world, which was to build in the sky. And there's not really much to see up here. It's just a tree farm and people's starter houses. Unfortunately, being that Engage had the youngest population, he also had the most transient population of people who just, were busy with school and friends and shorter attention spans and that sort of thing. Though I remember this was Wolfie is what we called him, Wolfie, and Wolfie was one of the younger kids who played. Um, I named his Castle Wolfenstein, which he thought was clever, but his mom played, and she was our age, so it was kind of a unique situation. I remember enjoying playing with both of them a lot. Um, so that's pretty much all of Engage's city. Um, I wish I could remember the name of it, but I never could find anything. I went on the old forums and even the Wayback Machine, and I just couldn't find anything. I will show this island here. It was man-made. It was two people. One of them was Chicky. She made the floating sort of cloud rainbow island in the photo tour, and she helped with this. But I don't remember the name of the other person that she was working with on this. But I always thought this was such a cool build. She had another build as well in my city. Cool dragon statue, I thought. And not a big or fancy house, but I just thought it was very tastefully done, and I like the palette, and you know, with the blocks we had at the time, we were so limited, and they just, I thought, did a really just bang up job with the whole build. So that is, I think we called it the Dragon Island because of the statue. So now we'll go to Dreamer's Island, Lumina, which it did not start off as Dreamer's Island. It started off as an island led by another person who just sort of burned out and didn't really. He began to not enjoy the world anymore, and just basically left. And one thing he sort of did as he began was he didn't want anyone to grief or destroy anything in the city of Lumina, which was much smaller at the time. And so he decided to encase it in a dome, which I found ironic, being that the city of light was going to be shielded in a dome. And this is the dome he began to build but never finished. And it was left as sort of a reminder of just, I don't even know what, but it was left behind as a let's not ever forget how crazy that was sort of thing. And then we added glass to it so that it wouldn't be so dark underneath it. There used to be an ocelot up here, and it was called the Luminous City Rare and Wild Ocelot. And I don't know what happened to it. I came on before I began filming, and I noticed it was gone. So I'll be honest. I'm on creative mode. We don't play in this role anymore. No one cares. I cheated one in, and now I'm back, and it's gone. Lumina had numerous bridges to it. Dreamer and I built this together. It was supposed to be inspired by the Brooklyn Bridge. I remember we had a lot of fun building this together. We didn't look at any reference pictures or anything. We just sort of thought, let's build something that looks similar to the Brooklyn Bridge. And we winged it. And this is what we came up with. This wooden bridge is the original bridge to the city that was built by the creators of the Onyx Hub team built that. And then Dreamer and I decided we should have a bridge between our cities, and I built the Golden Gate Bridge one weekend by myself. to surprise him, and he loved it. There was also this island that was considered communal, but no one built on it because of this pre-existing structure that, much like the structure way over there, the sort of wizard tower thing, this was a miniaturized version of a much larger build. I believe these were actually skyscrapers in the world that this replica is based off of. It was thought of as pretty cool, so we decided to leave it alone and not build there. This is where Dreamer lived. This is his fishing hut. You could still do AFK fishing back then, though it was weird because it was bedrock and the mechanics were way different. But Dreamer figured out how to do one, and then we decided we'd put a shark on top, and he and I spent an entire afternoon trying to figure out how to depict a shark the best way, and this is what we came up with. And I rather like it even to this day. And next to the fishing hut is our ice bucket challenge mechanism. This world was active during that period where people would dump ice on themselves and or donate money to ALS research, just to raise awareness and money for it. And it worked by stepping on this pressure plate, and then ice would fall out of the dispensers above you, and it was just a fun thing to do on the server to raise awareness in that way, which we used it to make videos on the server and then post them on our social media to put it back into the real world. And we actually were successful, and we're spreading it around our own social circles and raising a bit of money that way. So that was kind of cool. Next to the ice bucket challenge, we have Dreamer's house. I think we're allowed to enter despite the signage. Yes, of course we are. He was a very friendly guy and still is. I don't know if the door works, though. It appears it no longer does. But you can see it actually resembles the style of the upper floor of the pyramid. So that's Dreamer's island and his house. One last thing to show you, other than Dreamer's back patio deck beach house area, is the moderator area, which everyone knew existed, but no one knew where it was except for me and Dreamer and Engage. And it was down here. You'd come into this structure, and even if you found it, it would be very difficult to get in, because once you came here, the whole thing back then was filled with lava. When it was no longer in use just for purposes of making it easier to get in, I put glass up to get around easier. But once you left these signs, it was all lava, so you couldn't see unless you knew where to go. And it had these extra turns, so you'd have to just remember, you come out one block, go forward a couple blocks, make a turn, and then turn again. Otherwise you'd get lost in the lava. It was possible to make it through here without being a moderator, but it was also very difficult. Apparently the vines got weird when we converted to Java, but then you'd come down here. This was the moderator area, and we each had our own room, and we had a stash of different blocks up here that we could use. We had our own custom villager here that sold us special trades that were only for moderators. These are our emeralds that we used to trade with our villager. A stack of emeralds would buy a stack of apples, and then you could use those apples to buy everything else he had. There are just lots of supplies here for us to do things with, to make moderating easier with quick enchantments and that sort of thing. We each had our own room. Mine is the quartz room. I do not know what that sound is. I just used it to store stuff that was more valuable. No big deal. I do not know what that noise is, though. Engage's room. I think this was Dreamer's room. Yeah. So it was Dreamer on top, Engage in the middle, and me on the bottom. After the world became just me and my friends and it wasn't public anymore, I put the end back in. But it has since disappeared. And we never, well, maybe it's just not rendering because it's got a lot of particles, but we never actually entered it. Because I put this sign up to let everyone know we should do it together, but we never did. But this is the moderator area. This here is one of the common area islands. Not much to see. It looks pretty cool, but when you get in, there's not a lot actually here. Everything's empty. I think they meant to do like shops and stuff, but just never got around to it. I do like the enchantment table setup. That's cool. The people who played on this island, I just didn't hang out with them much. I don't remember who they were. I didn't come over here. I didn't visit it a lot. They were all way younger, and you know, that's fine. It's just not who I wanted to hang out with. And they built this bridge to my island as well, which I did not care for. I don't like cobblestone builds. But I did like the sugarcane feature. I thought that was neat. I just wish they'd use sand instead of dirt, because sand would have looked better. But Dreamer went on to basically turn the city into sort of a New York inspired thing, to the point we even we spent a weekend trying to come up with streetlight designs, and we came up with a bunch and we loved them, and then we realized they were all really laggy because they depended on redstone things, and the Xbox just couldn't handle it, so we abandoned how cool everything we came up with was and just made glowstone lamps. And then I don't know why we didn't finish and go all the way down the road. I don't remember, but welcome to Lumina City. To build on this island, you must ask Dreamer. And that's how it was. You had to ask each faction leader if you could join and if you could build. Dreamer was our redstone guru, and he built all the doors, but of course it was bedrock redstone, and it was 10 years ago, so I'm not surprised it doesn't work. He built another door over here. Someone gave him a challenge of, can you make a door that works, that looks like a creeper face? And he pulled it off. I don't know if it still works or not. I do like this bridge. Down there you can see where our subway goes under the ocean. Yeah, this is the creeper face bridge. I mean door, not bridge. Yeah, it looks like. Doesn't quite work anymore. But it did look like a creeper face, and it did work 10 years ago. You'll just have to trust me on that. Here's the other common area island. As I recall, it was just 2 people on this, and they walled it in and then never really did anything but plant a couple trees and build some stone and wood buildings that have nothing in them. It could have been really cool if they'd finished whatever their vision was, but they didn't. I like that they have a mushroom cow in here, though. That's fun. But back to Dreamer City. It was inspired by New York. except this one building here, which, believe it or not, was built by Danny Loop. He didn't finish this, but I think it was, it's clearly inspired by Japanese architecture, and it's definitely interesting, and I would love to have seen the finished version. He has a building in my city too that we'll look at, and a fountain as well, unless I may have torn it down. I don't remember, but there was one for a while. These buildings are all empty. It's just meant to sort of be a facade to look like New York, if New York had a giant dome over it. Except I think this building is more inspired by New Orleans, if I remember right. It certainly looks like it was. And then there's, I think this is supposed to be Grand Central Station. This is all leaking because we used ice as windows, and they changed the mechanics of ice of when they melt. The torches and glowstone previously had been placed in such a way that the ice wouldn't melt, but when they changed the mechanics, some of the blocks were affected by that and did melt, and now we have water. And I'm not going to bother to fix it. But yeah, this is supposed to be Grand Central Station, and this is the terminal for the Lumina subway. And that right there is Lumina's logo. Each city had a logo. I didn't see the logo anywhere for the Snowy City, or I would have pointed it out. I know it's in other places. I'll point it out when we see it. But yeah, this is Dreamer's City of Lumina. The domed and dark city of light is what we jokingly called it. And much like me, Dreamer has a fondness of building skyscrapers. I don't talk to him a lot anymore, but maybe once or twice a year, and he still plays. He's still on Bedrock, and he still builds skyscrapers, and he's still really good at redstone. Cool guy. But now, let's take a look at my city. The city of Pathos in the desert. My idea with this city was to make the walled portion resemble modern day Dubai and the exterior resemble ancient Egypt. I had a different gamer tag back then that was dog themed, so I dubbed myself the Dog King, with the joke being that pharaohs were known as god kings and I was dyslexic. Oh look, phantoms. I'm uncreative though, so they'll leave me alone. So of course, to enter the city, you would cross the Bridge of Fire. This is the Pathos logo here, and then our giant statue of Anubis, the Egyptian god that resembles a jackal, which, is a type of dog. He's holding, we call it the Pathos lollipop. And then just another portal staff. It's not supposed to be anything except a staff. And you just cross over the Bridge of Fire. I used to have a ramp built right here, and then I had a boat flying over, and then one day I thought it looked dumb and I tore it down. Kind of wish I had left it, but yeah. This is the Anubis statue. Thought it's pretty cool. He's got a fire in his nose. In retrospect, I wish I'd put like pink wool right here instead of glowstone, but that's okay. Anubis has, I don't remember right now, but I believe he has something to do with entrance into the afterlife as part of the judgment or something like that. I don't remember. If you're curious, you'll have to look it up yourself. But yeah, here's my city. The idea was it was meant to have a skyline with skyscrapers of shorter stature in the front and progressively larger stature in the back. But then people like Danny Loop, who built what we called the double helix building, which I love, just came in and were like, plop, big building in the front, blocking the back. It looks cool. I'm not going to knock it. I'm glad he built it. I just wish he'd built it further in the back. That is a replica of the Hatteras Lighthouse that there we called the Tower of Babel. It was built to what at the time was build height. We have dog statues guarding the outside of the city. That's what these are supposed to be. I wonder if my door still works. Probably not. A little bit. Yeah, so you'd come in and there'd be a little food for you. And now I'd love to walk around and show you what the city looked like, you know, to us back then without elytras and stuff, but it's really hard to see at that angle, so I'm just going to keep flying. This was our enchantment room. This is kind of cool. You step on the pressure plate and the door opens, and then you come on this pressure plate and all the shelves come out. Because enchantments are powered by having bookshelves surrounding the enchantment table. That kid Wolfie, he built it. Our build palette, we all agreed, would be sandstone, quartz, and nether brick, just to go with the desert theme. Most of the skyscrapers were freehand, no plan, just make it look cool. Some of them have obvious inspiration, like Big Ben here. This is the Berlin Media Tower, which you saw I built in the other world. This is supposed to just be like a fancy hotel. I would rent out a floor for a weekend for a diamond, which, you know, was a joke. No one actually ever took me up on that. These are the embassies. This is Dreamer's embassy. I suggested that he build it in the shape of an Ankh, which he did, and that's the Lumina logo. This is Engage's embassy. That's the logo for whatever their city was called. I just don't remember. And that's supposed to be I can't remember what it's called, but the Air Force One version of the President's Chopper. A Marine One maybe is what it's called. That's Dreamer's Marine One chopper. Then just continuing, more skyscrapers. I don't know quite what I was thinking, but I decided a cactus and sugarcane would be a feature of the top of this skyscraper. Over here we have what's supposed to be a replica of the Goodyear blimp. And this was our combat arena. The columns are just meant to like be little obstacles, and the glowstone is meant to keep it lit up well enough to prevent mobs from spawning. Fortunately, while glowstone will melt ice, it doesn't melt snow. This was not just a combat arena, but it was also a spleef arena. There was a villager here who was customized. You could buy snow from him. And a spleef arena is basically everyone, instead of fighting each other with swords, you have shovels. And the idea is you want to shovel all the snow to the point that everyone else falls, because underneath us is lava. And I don't actually know why that is called spleefing, but it is, and this was our spleef arena. And then we had this was supposed to be a gladiator statue. And then the arena itself was modeled on a desert temple, and then we built this viewing platform where you could watch people fight from up here if you wanted to. It wasn't really as good of a view as, say, maybe watching from down here, but we thought it looked cool. And, you know, just more skyscrapers, a random windmill in the back. Our currency was apples, not diamonds. So people would build big oak tree farms, but this one got converted to birch. temporarily when someone needed a bunch of birch, and then they never put it back to oak, I guess. This is supposed to be inspired by the what was called at the time the Burj Dubai, but because of funding issues was renamed the Burj Khalifa. But it had not yet been renamed, and being that my gamer tag was dog themed, I called it the Burj Dogby. It's not a replica, it's just inspired by. The real one's supposed to look like a lotus flower, and this one does too. A little bit, but instead of having the petals attached to it, I had them separated. I thought it looked cooler. This here is supposed to be a radio tower. Here's the dish. Yeah, this is supposed to be a dish sending out radio signals, and even though it's not rendering, there is a glass pillar holding it up. Our buddy Danny Luke built that. I thought it was super cool. And underneath it is his house, which is ridiculously booby trapped. And here's another one of his fountains. This skyscraper was supposed to be like inspired by rabbits, which were introduced into the game. I think along with horses. And so it's the rabbit ear building. Just more skyscrapers, not really inspired by anything specific. We just kind of did it on the fly. We would wing it. And by we, I meant mostly me. Other than the double helix building and the radio tower, I built everything in this city. I left these two buildings here as what became a joke and then became history. Craze lived here, and he told me he had a really cool idea for a skyscraper, and he needed these two buildings to do it. And then he logged off one day, and he never logged on again. And I just kept waiting and waiting. Then one day I decided, it's kind of neat to have two of the original houses from the city in here. Each city originally had replicas of normal villager houses, and that's what this is here. And now I consider them historic landmarks. There's a remnant of one other over this way. Chicky lived in it. But then we left the bottom part and turned it into a skyscraper. This here is the bottom part, and then it connects to here, the skyscraper here. And this is where Chicky lived. And then we had our post office. The server post office was in this skyscraper. You come in here and you had your mail system. Each city also had 3 booths where you could buy stuff from villagers. This city had 4 because of the arena, so you could buy snow from that one villager. The villagers sold customized things, and their currency was apples. So you could buy enchanted gear from a villager. This is before villagers had specialized trades. The trades were very rudimentary, but you could buy also like a stack of glowstone for a few apples, or a stack of quartz for a few apples. And part of that was to facilitate faster building, but also the world was tiny and limited. They weren't infinite like they are now. So it was to make sure we didn't run out of resources. Of course, the villagers didn't make it to the Java conversion, and they're gone now. But I left this there just because we incorporated each of the booths into, a building. This one being the post office. This was an experiment with using in stone instead of sandstone, just to see if it would fit. We liked it well enough to leave it, but not well enough to try it again. Each city also had its own nether portal. Ours was supposed to look like a scorpion. Danny Loop built that too. And Danny Loop built this fountain, which he then references the Khajiit in Skyrim, which I thought was super cool. Another Danny Loop fountain. Under the city, we had a farm, potatoes, sugarcane, vines, carrots, pumpkins, melons, wheat. It took so long to dig this out, and I wanted to make it one block taller, but I was just burned out on digging, so I settled for it being this size. It's irrigated by water under the carpet, actually. You can kind of see it there. And then over on this side is our mushroom and cocoa bean farm, much like the one we saw in the jungle or on the prior world tour of my first world. And then we were going to have vines along all the walls too. And I think we did for a while. Someone must have harvested and not replanted, but you can see them over here as well. Then under the farm, we had planned to make like an industrial area with just a bunch of crazy Rube Goldberg type redstone mechanisms that didn't do anything, but just looked cool. But other than digging it out a little bit, we never did anything with it. If you're wondering about the bedrock, each city was encased in a wall of bedrock around its perimeter underneath the ground to prevent other cities from accidentally tunneling into it. That's another custom feature from the Onyx Hub team. So that's the outside of the city, or rather the inside of the city. Now let's get to the outside. As I said, it was based on ancient Egypt, and I was a dog-themed character. So I built a Sphinx, but it's based on a Great Dane. I guess it's obvious. It does look a bit like Scooby, who is a Great Dane. Scooby is also the entrance to the subway on this island. This is just meant to be some kind of ancient abandoned temple guarded by more dog statues. It does light up. It's hard to see, but the pressure plates are on redstone lamps, and so they activate when you walk on them. This is not really ancient Egypt. It's more New York, 1800s. It's the Creeper of Liberty. Here's our obelisk that I called the Dog Blisk. More Ankhs. These are how you enter the, I think it's called a still or a stille. It's like Steele. And it's things that the Egyptians would write hieroglyphics on. And I'm not going to tell anyone what my gamer tag was back then, but I will tell you that if you can read hieroglyphics, you can figure it out from this. I had it checked by someone who can actually read hieroglyphics after I did it, and this is, in fact, an accurate translation of my old gamer tag into hieroglyphics right here. So that's pretty cool. The hint is there is a dog at the bottom, and my old gamer tag did have a dog theme to it. Of course, I would be remiss if I did not show you the inside of the stele. We have another statue of Anubis, this time wearing a diamond tunic and holding, instead of another portal staff, what was called a Tower of Pimp. I did not know what that was then, and I do not know what it is now, but everyone liked to build this thing back then. It was considered a flex, and it was called a Tower of Pimp. So I decided my Anubis statue should have one too. Sitting on his gold throne, wearing his diamond tunic, holding his Tower of Pimp staff. These are all the Onyx Hub logos variations, as well as the faction logos that I put on the other sides. Because I didn't want to write my name on every side of the building. I thought it would be cooler to have variation. This is just supposed to be another temple based on the Ankh. More dog statues outside of it. I think these are even better because you could be more detailed because the scale is bigger, so you could be more intricate with it. These are jackals, of course, like Anubis. There's nothing really inside except an altar with fire on it, but it was cool. This was my pyramid. We called it the Dog King Tomb and Casino. So we called it the Dog Tomb or the Dog King Tomb and Casino because it was a casino. It actually worked. It doesn't work anymore, or I'd show you, but you could toss an emerald into the hopper. We, of course, had to wait till after the TU19 update to do this, but you pull the lever and you have a 1 in 4 chance to win an apple. And then each lever is a different a currency and prize. The more valuable the input, the more valuable the output. So an iron might get you an emerald might get you an apple, with again apples being currency, so they were quite valuable. This one, emerald, will give you a diamond. We also, you could, if you were a moderator, we had a special villager we had access to, where we could buy skulls. So we bought a bunch and put them in the game as a chance for other people to win them. We also had access as moderators to notch apples, or gapples as they're called. They're enchanted golden apples that are very valuable that you cannot craft, and they're very rare. They're called notch apples because Notch is the person who made the game. And then this was the real prize, was to win another star. One thing I forgot to point out when I walked in was the slot machine has lights and music as well. But that can be super annoying, and also on the Xbox way back when, leaving that on all the time could cause lag. So it was just sort of a temporary feature to have for a few minutes while you played, not to leave on indefinitely. Then as far as other games, you could play chess. This was our chessboard. Each piece is, a different block. Then we had to make it a bit variated for, like this side is the rooks or anvils, this side they're cauldrons. Then the knights are stairs. But there are different stairs. The bishops are fences, piston, chiseled block for king, queen, piston for, I guess the piston is the king and the queen is a chiseled block. And then we have a sticky piston and different block. I don't know if they had nether chiseled blocks back then, or we just didn't think about it, but we should have made that a chiseled block. And that's where you put the captured pieces. Over here, checkers. We played with pressure plates, wooden and stone pressure plates. I don't think the iron and gold pressure plates existed yet, or we just cheaped out on it. I don't remember. Over here is Connect 4. What you do is you take sand or gravel, which fall when you place them, unlike other blocks, and you would go up there and you would drop your piece, and whoever connected 4 first would win. And then you would reset the game by pulling the lever, and then the pistons would, I guess it doesn't work anymore, but the pistons would retract and everything would fall. And then you could get, they would break on the iron gates, down, iron fences down there. And then you could retrieve it all right here and put it back in the chest. This was modified tic-tac-toe. I invented this game. It's standard tic-tac rules, but if a mushroom spreads, it's a free turn. And instead of X's and O's, you have red mushrooms and brown mushrooms, and the mycelium is your board. And this is rock, paper, scissors. The idea is you stand on the pressure plate, and it doesn't do anything, but once you hear it click, you know that you're in the right place. And you pull the lever, like that's rock, paper, and that's scissors. So let's say I wanted to play rock. That pops out, and I can't see what the other player's doing because of this here. And if I leave the pressure plate, I'm cheating until they've pulled it. So let's say they, they play scissors. And then we both step back and we can see, okay, I played rock, you played scissors, rock wins. It's not fancy, but it's Minecraft 10 years ago. We, like I keep saying, we didn't have a lot to work with. And it was fun. We enjoyed it. This is a fountain actually I built. I rather like it. It's not how I'd build a fountain today, but with a limited block palette, as well as the further limitation of wanting it to fit into the desert, it's not bad. Then there's a second floor to the Dog King Tomb and Casino. And that is purely aesthetic. Dreamer did most of this. There's a bar where you can just sort of look out at the city, pretty good view. This is supposed to be a pool table. This is carpet, and these are actually just signs, and it's meant to be pool cues. More good views. These are meant to be stripper poles, because that's how Dreamer rolls. We had a good laugh of it. These are supposed to be like tacky couches that you would see at a strip club. So yeah, that's the Dog King Tomb and Casino. And then I guess we're getting towards the end of things to show here. Just really the subway is all that's left. So we'll head over into the Dog Sphinx, is what I called it back then, so I'll just keep calling it that now. You could also go upstairs in the Sphinx and go on the back of the dog just to, get up and look around. Back then you could only see 4 chunks, so like you wouldn't have been able to see even the bridge or the island or the mainland back then at that, but I like to be able to get on top of things. Speaking of, before we go in the subway, maybe I should show you the stuff in the sky. We have a hot air balloon. You will see this hot air balloon again. I have built it like the Berlin Media Tower more than once. Nothing special, nothing hidden. It had no purpose other than to look neat. I decided I wanted a balloon in the sky. And then I decided I wanted a plane in the sky. And I didn't really think about maybe I should have like not had it pointed this way, maybe point it that way, but you actually can go in the plane. This is meant to be like a food service cart, and here's of course the cockpit with levers and doodads. That's meant to be a speaker for announcements like, please fasten your seatbelts. And here's the overhead compartments. Another speaker. I think these used to light up. Hold on. All the lights back on, planes in working order. And I think back here is supposed to be a bathroom. Yeah, this is supposed to be a bathroom. And I think it used to be that that button would make the trap door go down, but maybe redstone mechanics have changed. I think it's supposed to be like a faucet. This is supposed to be a sink that's somehow as high as the toilet. I mean, it's what we had to work with. And being that I was a moderator, I had the ability to fly. So I didn't have to have shafts of water to swim up to things. And I decided I didn't want to be bothered with people getting into my base very easily. So this was my base, this UFO. I was going with the ancient aliens nonsense. You know, the pyramids must have been built by a UFO. I don't, it wasn't. But I went with the silly idea, and basically this is my UFO. But I did, other than building it, I never did the interior. I always intended to, but I was more interested in building my city. I guess I didn't show you this building, but it was meant to be like the library of Alexandria as it was in my imagination, I guess. Didn't ever quite finish it either, but that's what gave me the idea for that. But this was my home. My storage area wasn't very big, but it got the job done. Mostly the only material I really ever needed was sandstone. So I would just plop it down on a chest wherever I was building. I didn't really bother with keeping it here. I'd smelt things here, and you know, not much to see. We can walk through it real quick though. I could exit here, but there weren't elytras, so I'd have to worry about people flying in, and being that I was a moderator, people didn't dare like try to come up here because I made it clear it was off limits. Some pretty good views. It would have been even better, except you couldn't see that far back then. But great views now that the render distance is greatly improved, especially with the Bobby mod. I was gonna put walls like diagonally between each of these entrances, so there was gonna be, I think, 8 compartments, and I was gonna have like a farm in one and cows in another, and like each room, like each tree would have its own room, which at the time I think there was only birch, oak, spruce, and jungle. Yeah, that was all. Somehow I got a horse up here. I don't remember doing that or how I did it, which would have been quite a feat. But I do not remember how I did that or doing it at all. But this is my UFO. It was fun to build. But I guess the last thing to show you, as I was saying a few moments ago, was be the subway. Yeah. Which, as you can see, was down this way. And then I built another Ankh. I like to hide Ankhs everywhere. This is your water drop. This is your water elevator. No no soul sand, so we had to make do. The way the elevator worked is there's a block of air between each block, which is of water, which is just enough to keep propelling you without you suffocating. You can also do this with mine carts instead of water, but we found out that there's a limit to how many mine carts you can have in the world, placed in the world. So we put them all back here, just use them for the subway, not for the elevator. Each station was based upon the city above it. Mine is based on ancient Egypt. This subway line takes you to the mainland. This doesn't do anything. It's just supposed to be a neat window because there just happened to be a cave here with lava and water, and we thought it looked cool. So we're like, let's make sure that we can see it. And over here is sort of where the subway begins. You're supposed to go this way and come back this way. This is supposed to be I think a lion statue. Normally we did dogs because of me, but just for something new and different, we decided to do a lion down here. It's water features, lava features, pillars, and then creeper face, and then on this side, skull. But instead of flying through the subway, I'm going to take you through it the way that we would have used it back then. So you would have gotten your mine cart, and you'd place it there. I don't need a bunch of mine carts. You get in, and you hit the button, and it would make you go. Though it doesn't seem to be doing that now, so I'll just do it manually. There. Yes, you get in your mine cart, and you would just ride along. We intended to put walls all around, but we didn't ever finish. And this line takes you to Lumina. And at the time, I don't remember if it was faster to take the subway. We did use it a lot, but I don't remember if it was because it actually was faster or for the novelty of it. Of course, I could fly everywhere, so it wasn't necessary for me, but we worked so hard on it that it was just fun to do. Plus, it looks so cool in here. This is the Lumina station. And I guess I'll need to take another one. There we go. And it's meant to resemble the jungle city above it. And there was going to be like a kind of a jungle park down here, but we never really finished it. We just, as you can see, kind of got started on it. Well, that was interesting. It changed it updated the block and made the little thing go away. Interesting. Yeah, we're gonna hang a lot of vines down. I guess that's supposed to be some sort of like zombie face or something. I don't know. Another really cool idea that would have looked awesome if we had finished it, but sadly we didn't. That might be all to see here, so go on to the city of Engage that I do not remember the name of. And again, under the water. That was a line that was going to exist, but we never actually built the rails for. I always liked when they opened up into caves. I made sure everyone did not, that everyone knew to not continue the wall when a cave showed up, but just because of the view, I thought it was cool. Here we run into a situation where we built with ice, and the lighting mechanics changed in such a way that ice has melted and ruined the track. But this was just supposed to be the ice station, I guess. I don't know where these are supposed to go. I doubt there's anything in there. I think this was the minecart thing. I guess it was supposed to be like a ticket booth. And I think this was the way up. Yeah. And then here was the station for Engage's City. There you go. And that is Aru, except for one more thing that maybe I should show you, because you might remember on the previous photo tour, there was a party pig. And as I am wrapping this up, it occurred to me that I did not show you the party pig made its way to this server as well. If you remember the ocelot on the block over Lumina, see, the thing is, no one placed this block. We think it was a remnant from the Onyx Hub team editing the world, and it was placed here by accident. And the ocelot spawned on it. And the thing is, if an passive mob spawns on an area and the area is less than 20 by 20 blocks, it will not despawn. At least that was the thing at the time. So when a ocelot spawned on this block, it couldn't despawn, and so it stayed for years and years until, I explained earlier, it just disappeared. So because Lumina had an ocelot, Craze and I, who had built the party pig on the previous server, well, we decided that Pathos should have a corresponding animal, and so we managed to find and bring a pig up here that we called the Pathos Party Pig. And he, as you can see, has not despawned. All hail the Party Pig. Anyway, that's gonna do it for part 2 of my 10-year anniversary series. I hope you enjoyed it. I will come back as soon as I can with part 3, which will be Temperu, followed by what I believe will be the best tour, will be a world called Dig You, which I played on longer than any other world I have played on. So until then, I want to thank you for watching, and as always, you've been wonderful, and I have been Captain Incredulous. I'll catch you later.